Holoprosencephaly, a congenital anomaly of the fetal brain. Actually, I published a picture in my page Obstetrics and Gynecology Ultrasound for All page, and that was a quiz for my colleagues in which I published this picture and I asked it, comment please. Of course, some of my colleagues had mentioned that this is a cyclop or cyclopia and this is proboscis present in this facies of that fetus. And as you can see here, I used a 4D picture in which I used this, of course, this the 2D picture in which this is the profile of the face of the fetus, and here the rendering 4D ultrasound picture. And some, of course, of our colleagues did not understand the picture. Those who had said that a case of allobar holoprosencephaly, although I did not mention the brain or I did not give you a picture for the brain, actually understand this abnormality, understand this congenital anomaly properly. They understand that when there is this picture or this facies, when we have this cyclop or cyclopia and this proboscis, so that means that this is the most severe form of holoprosencephaly in which there is allobar holoprosencephaly of the brain. And so those who said allobar holoprosencephaly, actually they understand that anomaly, and that anomaly actually, in very simple words, is the anomaly of cleavage, absence of cleavage of the brain. Of course, we should have two cerebral hemispheres, and when there is no two cerebral hemispheres, actually there is what's called failure of rotation. As you can see here, if you have at first the normal ventral induction, which is occurring to have this cleavage, and then there is inward rotation, as you can see in this picture, so that would end in two cerebral hemispheres. But in holoprosencephaly cases, there is failure of cleavage and failure of rotation, and so it will be just allobar appearance, and this is in the most severe forms. Between the 4th and 6th week of gestation, the forebrain or prosencephalon, telencephalon is divided into two hemispheres. Absence of this cleavage results in a spectrum of malformations called holoprosencephaly. In the most severe form, allobar holoprosencephaly, the brain consists of a single spherical forebrain structure with a single ventricle. A large cyst, which communicates with the ventricle, is present in the posterior dorsal part of the brain. The brain in allobar holoprosencephaly is small, and the gyral pattern and cortical architecture are abnormal. The eyes, which evaginate from the forebrain in the 4th week, are small and malformed, or there is only one eye, cyclopia or a cyclop. And you will notice the nose above this eye or single eye above this cyclop. A spectrum of midline facial anomalies accompanies the brain malformations in allobar holoprosencephaly. These are severe and include a proboscis, a trunk-like structure above the single eye, a single nostril, cleft lip, cleft palate. Milder brain pathology is accompanied by milder or subtle facial defects, such as a central incisor and hypothyroidism. The correlation between the facial anomalies and holoprosencephaly was pointed out by Demer in a paper titled "The Face Predicts the Brain." You can read it. Allobar holoprosencephaly is incompatible with life, of course, with survival. Milder forms are associated with variable psychomotor retardation depending on the pathology. Diabetes insipidus is frequent in these patients. Holoprosencephaly is rare among live-born infants, but very common in embryogenesis. It has genetic and environmental causes. Most cases are sporadic, but there are also autosomal dominant, recessive, and X-linked forms. Holoprosencephaly also occurs as a component of multiple malformation syndromes and in several chromosomal abnormalities, most commonly trisomy 13, trisomy 18, and triploidy. Genetic holoprosencephaly is associated with 4 genes and has been linked to 7 additional chromosomal loci. The best known holoprosencephaly gene is the sonic hedgehog gene. Actually on 7q36, which is important for ventral patterning of the forebrain. Mutations of this gene causes autosomal dominant holoprosencephaly. Not only mutations, actually, we'll see that some medications will cause this abnormality. Defective cholesterol synthesis inhibits that hedgehog signaling, resulting in holoprosencephaly-like malformations. Retinoic acid participates in the hedgehog system excess retinoic acid during embryogenesis from administration of course of Accutane for acne inhibits Hitchcock and causes holoprosencephaly and other malformations. Actually, this medication for acne, although it's very effective for acne, but actually if it was received during pregnancy, it causes this severe congenital anomaly of the brain. So actually using this retinoic acid during embryogenesis, that actually inhibits Hitchcock and causes holoprosencephaly and other malformations. The holoprosencephaly associated gene interacting factor TGIF on 18p11 regulates retinoic acid. Mutations of TGIF results in unrestrained retinoic acid activity and holoprosencephaly. The multitude of genes and chromosomal loci associated with holoprosencephaly underlines the complexity of genetic programs that are involved in embryonic patterning and the intricate interaction between genes and environmental factors. The chemical messages that induce the forebrain to divide the two hemispheres into two hemispheres, including Hitchcock, are first expressed in the precaudal plate and area rostral to the notochord that gives rise to the facial mesoderm. Hitchcock is also involved in craniofacial development. Brain function issues depending on the severity of the condition. This can affect various brain functions, including cognitive abilities, motor skills, and sensory perception. So when you see this is the most severe form of this holoprosencephaly, and this is an example of a picture of later of a face or a facies of a baby of, unfortunately, cyclopia and proboscis, and this is how the brain is appearing in allobar holoprosencephaly. And these are the different stages of this holoprosencephaly and how it may appear in the different stages or the different severity, the different degree of severity of the condition, as I mentioned. Cyclopamine actually is defined as a steroid alkaloid found in the cornea, and cornea is called the Verratum californicum because it's present in California specifically, that exhibits teratogenic defects, and actually that's because it primarily causing craniofacial deformities and possessing anti-cancer properties by inhibiting the Hitchcock signaling pathway. And that's again the real problem of cyclopamine, although it destroys cancer cells and it's used especially in ovarian and breast cancer. But if it was used, or if this medication is ingested by a pregnant lady, unfortunately it causes this severe malformation of holoprosencephaly, again because it affects the Hitchcock pathway. This is how the corn lily or the Verratum californicum appear. This is the plant. Either you can see the flowers of this plant or the roots or whatever. That's how that plant appears. But please remember that plant is very toxic. All parts of corn lily are highly toxic and potentially fatal, particularly the roots. And actually that plant in which they get the cyclopamine, which is the treatment of cancer and which causes this teratogenicity. They noticed that the sheep in the area of having that plant had that anomaly, which is, as you can see here, the cyclopia. And that's why they actually tried to know what is this cyclopamine, and then they understood that it causes this congenital anomaly, even if it's used in treatment for cancer. Holoprosencephaly, one of the most important anomalies you should know by heart. And please, when I publish pictures for any cystic degeneration or cystic changes or cystic appearance inside the brain, please remember not all the cysts or not all the cystic parts or the cystic abnormalities of the brain are just hydrocephalus. There are so many different entities of the different congenital anomalies of the fetal brain. So holoprosencephaly is different from hydranencephaly and is different from hydrocephaly. Hydrocephalus, hydranencephaly, holoprosencephaly are completely different entities. So please remember this. I'll try later to give you a whole lecture of CNS anomalies and the whole pictures of these CNS anomalies. Thank you.